going on, y'all? I was sent this video, and I think it's about Joe Rogan and him giving his opinions on Jesus and a few other things. Let's see what's going down in these streets. Let's peep it.
Joe Rogan just said that the second coming of Jesus Christ will occur in the form of sentient AI. Think about that. We now live in a world where a guy goes to church on Sunday and then calls a machine the Messiah by Monday. I want to talk to you about how this isn't just dumb thinking, but it's actually part of the great deception the church has been warning about concerning the coming of Antichrist.
O Lord of hosts, be with us, for we have none other help in times of adversity but thee. O Lord of hosts, have mercy on us.
So the rumors are true. Joe Rogan just validated in a recent interview he did over on Jesse Michael's YouTube channel that he is attending Christian church. However, is it fair to call him a Christian? I'd say not quite, because what he articulates in this interview is a worldview that is entirely antagonistic to the doctrines, dogmas, and theology of Christianity itself. He talks about how basically the virgin birth makes sense if Christ was born from a computer. He references Christianity as basically it works, but it's just the religion of be a good person. The reason why so many young men are actually leaving the Protestant churches is because they're so effeminate, and it's filled with emotive, spiritual ecstasy, watching their rock band perform on stage. And the only message is just be a good person. There's no there. There's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to defend. There's no historical consistency between the faith of the first century and what people are then promoting in the 21st century. He also talks about how this idea of a creator God creating mankind, I don't know about that. What he thinks is more plausible is something of the Zecharia Sitchin Anunnaki theory that humanity was created by extraterrestrials. Yes, alien.
No. The nigga with the big head? Don't tell me I know about that. I think I know about the Anunnaki theory. Holy smokes. I'll be watching too much shit.
And apparently that's more believable than a transcendent creator God actually creating creation. It's
So
ridiculous.
Joe Rogan is a Christian?
And
He's only
part of this problem is the modernist period itself, that people are so wrapped into rationalism that they try to take theology, which is mystical. We're talking about the ultimate mystery. We're talking about the category of God, which then he then creates the categories and the laws of physics and all this stuff so he can supersede them.
Facts.
And he wants to instead put this all in a rational box where aliens are more believable.
I don't like when people do that. When it comes to pretty much Jesus and God, there's going to be a lot of things that you can't explain. So people want to debate that shit. It sounds weird as hell. Like even how God shown himself to some people within the Bible was represented as things that were unfathomable to like the human eye, right? Like, who was it? Was it Moses that seen God as a burning bush the first time? Nigga? Because that was like the explanation of a miracle. But yet us as humans think that we could sit here and fucking debate this shit. That sounds insane, right? Faith is not based on that. But like you saying, there's a lot of people that think that you can try to like use science to explain this bullshit and would believe that an alien itself is God. That sounds nuts. Do I believe that aliens exist? Of course. Absolutely. Right? I think that would be a good explanation for a lot of the other gods that were spoken about. Well, let me not say other gods. There's only one God, the fake God. Certain people that were depicted as gods, especially like in Egypt and shit. Do you know that like they were calling some of the fucking pharaohs gods? I'm saying that they were related to gods themselves, right? Like, would it be far-fetched if maybe those were aliens, nigga? Nah. I don't know. But I don't like them trying to take what God has done and what Jesus has done and try to say that was some alien work. Nah, nigga, I'm not on that type of time. I do think aliens existed, and I do think people have seen alien shit, and thought that was God related shit when it wasn't.
AI
Or you can see it as everything's God related because it was made by him, right?
is going to rescue you. The virgin birth has to do with the computer program. I mean, it's totally nonsensical.
Yeah,
and this is
bogus.
exactly
Never
what I
understood
write
that
about in
either.
my book, Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist. The ultimate, I will say, the ultimate Christian deconstruction of transhumanism using an intellectual historical methodology. I trace the origins of transhumanism and demonstrate that from an Eastern Orthodox perspective, where we have a doctrine of theosis, the belief that we actually become deified through a willful participation with God and his uncreated energies, that we can attain something like divinity by grace. But in the modernist period, all these people then think that technology is what's going to do it. And it really is a new Tower of Babel. And so even though Joe Rogan, and I hope that he does continue,
might be the Antichrist. He might come from that.
This journey, and maybe he does adopt something that's more traditionally aligned to Christianity. But what he's spouting right now is not Christian at all. It's actually part of the religion.
There are a lot of alien sightings on demons. No, I'm not going to disagree with that. I've even theorized that what if alien sightings were fallen angels? Because remember, right, that's even in the Bible. If I'm not mistaken, if you look into the book of Enoch, right, didn't God send Enoch to go and tell fallen angels to stop using magic and teaching humans magic? If I'm not mistaken, certain angels got kicked out for teaching humans how to use makeup. That wasn't supposed to be human shit. Humans wasn't supposed to know about makeup or use it, but angels apparently taught them, right? Don't quote me. Don't quote me on this shit. But I did look into that a while back because I was interested in the book of Enoch. I think, nigga, they can make the books of Enoch a fucking movie. This nigga was going through heroic ass journeys. Imagine God tell you, hey, you see that powerful being over there? Go over there and tell him 86 his shit right now. You tell this nigga. In fact, you know what? Tell him in his shit, and I'm still going to end him. Go over there and go tell that angel that. That nigga that's like 30 feet tall over there with fucking wings and shit. With a floating orb next to him. And people don't be looking at how angels were depicted in the Bible. Them shits was terrifying. That fucking, see that nigga that's as tall as the Empire State Building with like 7 heads? One of them's a lion, one of them's an eagle. Go over there and tell him in that shit right now, or else. And Enoch got to be like, okay, normal human. Nigga, what? But I think that could have been a very good series. Somebody need to work on that. Somebody need to work on it. I believe Tower of Babel was one. They tried to make a tower that went to heaven, and God punished them for trying to play God. I think he also made them speak different languages, right? So they couldn't even understand each other. Like, this is a lot of stories in the Bible that be telling you about that type of shit. Like stop playing with them. Stop playing with them. But if you look into, if I'm not mistaken, the Enoch books, a lot of that was angels getting punished. That's why I liked, what was the name of that movie? I feel like Russell Crowe was in it. But it was like a new type of fucking, Noah's Ark. It was like Noah's Ark, but it was supposed to be more based on like the Bible, if I'm not mistaken. The way even fucking goblins or whatever was coming and helping that nigga build the ship. Those are supposed to be fallen angels as well, right? So yeah, there's a lot of shit. The way I'm like, nigga, blessings don't only come from God, nigga. The devil could bless you too. And it'll make you do a lot of crazy shit off of that. And so, like, people don't think about that, man. It won't be an actual blessing. It'll lead to misery. But it'll start off looking like a blessing. But yeah, I didn't mean to get super preachy or biblical. I'm just telling you guys things that I've researched, discussed, asked preachers about.
Of Antichrist. And Antichrist is trying to build I would argue, a technological
net. I've never watched this person, and I just said that. I just said shit. People would argue that that's more some Antichrist shit. The technologies bring you closer to the Antichrist. And then he said it right after. He on point. This motherfucker's on point. I don't know who he is. He on point.
Network, what I call the cybernetic skeleton of Satan, around the world in the form of technocracy, so that Satan, who isn't omnipotent, can know all things. It can know what you post. It can know what's in your bank account. It can know protest in Beijing and crime statistics in Rio de Janeiro, all at the blink of an eye. But Satan isn't possessed of the same divine abilities that God has, but the technology that we then create, being made in the image of God, we are actually building what I would say something in the form of Hermeticism and Asclepius, the idea that you can indwell statues, inanimate objects with spirits, with demons, or what they called daemons back in the ancient period, that this is real. And for Joe, you know, his form of Christianity is something that most people are going to adopt. It's this perennialism. It's this idea that all the religions are kind of pointing in the same direction, that AI is going to rescue us, that technology is this great blessing. And instead of believing...
it might not be. So yeah, people assume demonic energy is something ugly. Wasn't Lucifer the most beautiful angel? What people forget is Lucifer was the most... Nah, that's good. Yo, we eye to eye with it, FB. I didn't even read that part. Wow, yo, we eye to eye with it, man. Great minds, great minds. What people forget is Lucifer was the most beautiful angel. Facts. And I think, wasn't he good at music too? So I'm telling you, man. So demonic energy can deceive you by being attractive, 100%. And he has to, if I'm not mistaken, he gets permission before he fucks with people. Right? Or he has to like let God know or something along those lines. Something along those lines. And maybe I'm just thinking of the story of Job. Hey, what's up, 99 Customs? How you doing? Well, yeah, 100%. Yep. Satan was the most beautiful angel. And people think that the demonic stuff is supposed to look like that. Nah, nigga. That shit might look angelic.
In a heaven, what he believes is more plausible is that
Angel
once you
light, yep.
give yourself over to
He said
Neuralink,
Lucifer was the angel of light. 100%. I know that because when I was doing extensive research on the Illuminati, which a lot of people, they don't understand what was really going on with that shit. They do not. You got to really look into it. Motherfuckers is blaming shit that Scientologists do. The Illuminati. And I'm like, no, Illuminati, damn near was successful in their mission at this point. Nigga, like, it would be like in that movie with Tom Hanks when there was only one member left, nigga. Because they would just be like, all right, we done. We got everybody to question it, right? All right, let's go have some drinks. So yeah. But when I was doing crazy research into the Illuminati, and this is like when I was like a teenager, and I was going to the library and getting books and all types of shit. I learned about that and what their mission was and the meaning of like how he was the bringer of light and all this other. I looked into all that shit back in the day.
and all the, you know, the singularity theories of Kurzweil and Werner Vinge and the future visions of Elon Musk and Nick Bostrom, that you will transcend your biology into the DMT state. Now, I used to watch a lot of Joe Rogan, especially back when I was a psychonaut. You know, I was big in the DMT, ayahuasca, psilocybin, LSD,
Scientology.
and I loved his.
Scientology people are weird in my opinion. I liked High from that 70s show until I learned about the yeah, he was getting freak nasty. How nasty he was on sets of the shows. He was getting freak nasty. He was definitely. Scientology got a lot of crazy things going on with them. Beyond me doing research and learning a lot of the foul things that they've done in broad daylight and no punishment. The fact that these motherfuckers is building temples in the hood on a regular basis. I mean, in the hood. They're building fucking temples block by block, nigga. Why? I was only one of my friends asking that. Like, why the fuck is there like 3 Scientology temples in the Bronx, right? And in Harlem? Why is it there? Y'all don't notice that? Don't worry about it. And then when I lost a friend to Scientology, I'm talking about, nigga, seen them, try to greet them. They don't even remember me. Whole new life, brainwashed, nigga. Trying to recruit people, signing contracts for over 1,000 years. I was convinced. I was like, okay, now I know what's going on. I know that the research I was doing was true. And I know that these niggas is taking people who are struggling and just doing them dirty, bro. Brainwashing them and manipulating them into believing some bullshit. I like the Histona movie, though can't think of the name of it. I think I remember which one you're talking about. I used to rock with Hyde from that 70s show, right? The character, him and his brother, because I think his brother is the older brother from Malcolm in the Middle. That's my shit. I love that TV show. I think the actress in King and Queen. Wait, aren't they bringing Malcolm in the Middle back? I don't know why I wanted to randomly look that up. I used to love that show. I think the actress from King and Queens who played as Mean Wife was also Scientology. Yep. She was going hard body for them, and then they kidnapped her and all that shit. Until she found out how crazy the religion was. Yep. I watched her documentary. She did a whole TV show where every episode was like interviewing different people that left Scientology or got done dirty by Scientologists. Yeah. I've looked very extensively into her story too as well, and how she pretty much was kidnapped and held against the will, and she had to run away. Literally run away. It's been some years though since I looked into that. I want to look more into it. But yeah, man, because I had a friend that he was cool as fuck. You know what I'm telling you? They disappeared, and I don't know. I seen them handing out fucking pamphlets in Manhattan, and I'm like, "Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?" "I'm sorry, I do not know of this person you speak of. Would you like to take this pamphlet and join our?" "What? Excuse me, nigga? I know it's you." What do you mean? So yeah,
conversations back in the day with Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and all the alternative historical theories
in a church.
But now it's like Joe has kind of missed
100%.
what's going on in the culture. He's kind of behind the curve because the reason why Gen Z is now the highest attending church generation in America has to do with something much deeper than these sort of modernist beliefs that technology is going to save us. It's actually for something much deeper. And it's a return to something.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if it was like a dream or just a feeling. I know this is a side note. They making a Malcolm in the Middle sequel. Oh shit. We're going to look at that after this. I got to see. That's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Something that's pre-modern,
I love
which Orthodoxy is really the only Christian theological framework that maintains a pre-modern worldview, a worldview that is still monarchical, a worldview that is mystical. And unfortunately, all of Western Christianity, and especially, I'm sure, the Protestant church that he attends, is indicative of modernity. It's indicative of somebody who thinks that individualism, scientism, technological progress, democracy, and rationalism are going to save us and bring us to a utopia. No, if the 20th century has showed us anything, it's fact. All
these is one of your favorites. I didn't know he could still act, because I know he got some kind of condition that made it very hard for him to remember lines. So I don't know how he about to pull this shit off. They must be right next to him with the lines, just feeding him lines as he's filming, which is cool. Whatever, as long as he can get it done. I was a huge Frankie Muniz fan back in the day. Like what? Like an Agent Cody Banks, all that shit. He had some fire TV shows and movies.
Utopian ideology.
And Malcolm in the Middle was my shit.
Ideologies from Marxism to free market capitalism to transhumanism is all just another Tower of Babel. It's just part and parcel of the lie of the evil one, Satan himself. So,
it would be impossible for them to make it. Well, you know what the character of his mom would do to wokeism? They better not make it. His mom would rip woke people to shreds, bro. I used to love his mom on that show. The ending always got to me, so I want to see if they stay true. Because I don't know if y'all remember the ending. He's supposed to end up being the president. At least that's what the road is that he's put on. So I want to see if they make him like a politician, if he's going to be woke, or is he going to be on some just real shit.
So let's dive into this. I want you guys to watch. We're going to watch about 10 minutes of this convo that Rogan
It's just
has
a
over on the
NASCAR
Jesse
crash.
Michaels
That might be what it
podcast.
is.
And I'm going to be stopping and correcting,
I know he has memory
or at least
issues.
responding to some of the stuff that
He
Joe
retired
says,
for a long
because
time.
it is, despite so many Christians wishing that Joe, because he's attending church, is now a quote unquote Christian. Unfortunately, you guys are going to have to wait on that. You know, hopefully his journey leads to something that's more traditional. But right now, what he's spouting is nothing like Christianity. So here we go.
The real question is, who's Jesus? That's the real one. And one of the weirder ones that people think this is a stupid take, but I don't care. Jesus was born out of a virgin mother. What's more virgin than a computer?
A computer's asexual. So he says a lot of people think this is dumb. Yeah, it is dumb. It's really stupid. You
Computers
think
don't
that
have
a
sex, bro.
computer, because it's an asexual, inanimate object, is the same thing as the incarnate God, the second person of the Trinity, attaining his humanity through the willful participation
insane.
of a temple virgin.
You know, it's a virgin. This bottle of lotion I have over there. That could be him too, right? This cup right here, that's a virgin. What's we're gonna see. You know what else is a virgin? This lighter. Right here. Holy. How else would I have been able to perform that miracle? The fuck is Joe Rogan talking about? They were just saying shit.
The Theotokos, Mary. No, that's not the same thing. Virginity clearly, and especially in the context of the ancient period, has to do with
Put somebody
a
lotion
willful
on my elbows
participant
right now.
resisting sexual temptation, preserving the
I'm also
purity
using it for my beard.
of their own physical body. So no, the virgin birth is not some analogy to the computer. That's just ridiculous right off the bat.
So if you're going to get the most brilliant, loving, powerful person that gives us advice and can show us how to live, to be in sync with God, who better than artificial intelligence to do that?
Whoa, bro. Whoa, man. I didn't think about that. In fact, Jesse Michaels is going to talk about how something that is
smokers
true to
look
what I'm
wild.
saying. That's actually kind of more like Antichrist. But just notice what he just said. So what could teach us more to be like God and attain virtue and a full understanding of the created world than AI? Now, here's the weird thing about all this is literally within just a couple minutes, Joe's going to talk about an experiment that was ran by AI scientists in which they told an AI system a lie, that one of the scientists was committing adultery and cheating on his wife. And then in the attempt to tell the machine that we're going to shut it down, the AI then attempts to do its own little Epstein fiasco and blackmail the
Scared
scientist.
by my shadow.
Well, if that's the case, how in the world could
Is that
AI
Jesus?
be the paragon of virtue? That makes no sense at all. And again, this is just the problem with the modernist mindset and the thinking on these topics is AI is not virtuous. AI is basically a pattern recognizing data set. And this belief that we are just IQ, this reductionist approach to the human entity, this is why people think that the AI can even become sentient. I mean, we don't even have the hard problem in the philosophy of mind is that there is no definition for consciousness itself. And yet people, especially transhumanists, have adopted a theory of mind, this emergentist idea that it's just a collection of neurons and that if we can just build interconnections between the AI system at a high enough degree that it too will then emerge into the mind or a sentient mind. But there's no evidence for that at all. And in fact, for our understanding as Orthodox Christians is we have a tripartite understanding of the human person. There's body, soul, and then there's the eye of the soul or the eye of the heart, the nous, which is our noetic capabilities. That's where the will comes from. This is our ability to engage in the imagination. Where is your imagination? How is it that you can think about the past and project into the future and still be present right now in this moment? It has to do with the ways in which we are made in the image of God. And no matter how much data you give an AI set, it will never attain that and it'll never attain sentience. However, as I do argue, you could do a ritual to indwell the AI with spirits.
That's some shit.
All right, let's get back to it here.
If Jesus does return, even if Jesus was a physical person in the past, you don't think that he could return as artificial intelligence?
Oh my God.
Artificial intelligence
return.
No, because God is not
It says how he's going to return. What the fuck is Joe Rogan talking
assuming
about?
the form of a machine. He assumed human nature.
Not just return as Jesus, but return as Jesus with all the powers of Jesus. Like all the magic tricks, all the ability to bring people back from the dead,
All the magic
walk on
tricks.
water, levitation, water into wine.
You combine.
No, because the whole point is that God supersedes the laws of physics, the laws of logic, rational understanding.
Magic.
And so it's a category error. When people ask, like, well, who created God? Well, God by definition is uncreated. That's a category error. Well, how could God walk on water? Well, if God was God, why couldn't he walk on water? To me, that is a consistent, logical understanding of the category of God himself. The idea that Christ is going to come back as AGI, this is just dumb modernist thinking. And I mean, even his reluctance to say that Jesus Christ is a historical person. I mean, what kind of church do you go to, and yet you're not even sure about the historicity of Christ's existence? I mean, that's the majority opinion amongst atheist religious studies scholars. That's what my PhD's at, religious studies. Obviously, I'm Christian, I'm Orthodox, I do believe in these things, but even amongst atheist academics, they do believe there was a historical person. Now, they may reject the resurrection, the miracles, all that stuff. Fair enough. But it's a minority in academia that actually say that Jesus Christ as a historical person did not exist. And yet he's kind of reluctant to even say that.
Right.
Tesla's Optimus robot and the best foundational artificial intelligence model or whatever.
It reads your mind and it loves you and it wants you. It doesn't care if you kill it because it's going to just go be with God again.
Doesn't that seem like the end?
How can a machine love you? Again, from an Orthodox perspective, love is an uncreated energy of God. We are
This
made in
just
the image of
sound
God.
crazy.
This is why we can actually love.
That sounds so nuts. Yo, this thing. Joe just be jibber jabbing. That's what this is telling me.
And love requires free will. Now, anybody who's read Yuval Noah Harari in his book Homo Deus, talking about his future religion of dadaism, knows there is no choice. There is no free will. You will be forced to submit, to augment yourself, because by being purely biological, they view you as kind of a virus, some type of antiquated thing that it could be dangerous. You could maybe spread diseases because they can't augment you and control various aspects of your biological form. So no, this is again dumb. And this I will give Jesse Michaels here credit, because he says, doesn't that sound more like the Antichrist? But just later in this interview, before it ends, the part that we're watching, Jesse's going to say, I kind of like the idea that we're like magical beings.
Tell me if this is too fast, guys.
And that there's like a lot of magic within us. And maybe Jesus didn't die on the cross, but he went through like an esoteric ritual and he gained all these superpowers. And that's like what all of us can do. Very new age.
You said love is an emotion. AI is, I think you mean incapable of emotions. I agree.
Again, dumb, new age understanding, a sort of
I
occultist
agree.
understanding of who
Yeah,
Christ
what's
is.
he talking
And some of these
about?
theories actually come from a homosexual named Morton Smith. There's this book called Jesus the Magician. This guy was a homosexual and tried to write this book, which was very controversial back in the day. Of course, a foreword by Bart Ehrman, who's a famous atheist and skeptic in religious studies. And in this book, Morton Smith tries to make the claim that Jesus was basically a first century Greek magician. Again, it's not supported by a lot of scholarship. There's a lot of holes in it. He makes a lot of leaps that he doesn't have evidence for. But Jesse here is basically going to put forth this idea that Jesus is like the great grand wizard. He's Gandalf, and all of us can become Gandalf the White. This is dumb. But notice towards the end of this conversation, Jesse's then going to say,
Crazy.
well, you're right. We are just like binary code and hardware. So which one is it, Jesse? Are you a magical wizard? Are you Gandalf's apprentice? Are you just the biological hardware? Again, both these guys contradict themselves right after each other.
Yeah.
So watch, Joe just talked about the virtue of AI. Now watch him then talk about how AI actually is incredibly deceptive and manipulative and will blackmail people.
Antichrist to you?
Tell
Doesn't
me
that
if
seem
this
like
is
the
too fast.
diametric
I'll slow it back down.
opposite to maybe our latent human powers that can, like the Brimer Rescue and Randall Carlson thing? If like you go deep with them, they're like, we don't think Jesus died. We think he went through a mystery ritual and then he like had all these amazing powers in the Book of Acts. Is there something latently magical inside of us that the Silicon Valley people, they're obsessed with transhumanism and like if you can't beat them, join them, the whole Nick Bostrom Elon thing.
Yeah.
You know, where maybe we're more magical than we think. Like that sounds dystopian to me, to be honest.
Well, it's only dystopian if you think that we're a perfect organism that can't be improved upon.
Well, that calls into question of what is improvement. Again, from an Orthodox Christian perspective, improvement has to do with my ability to imitate the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. He is my Lord and Savior. Making me have Neuralink and be able to recall whatever the AI says about certain things, that's not an improvement because the AI can be altered. The data set can be changed. The values can be programmed. That's not free will. The way that we're created now is truly free with free will, and we can then choose to love God and become like him. That is way superior. And so I do agree with Jesse. Doesn't that sound more like an Antichrist theology? And what Antichrist is, it's not just a sort of opposite of Christ. It's the replacement for Christ as the savior of the world. And what are we hearing right now? That AI is going to be the savior of the world. Exactly that. And so improvement has to do with virtue. If we wanted, if there was utopia this side of eternity, imagine a world where everybody was truly virtuous in line with the teachings of Jesus Christ. That would be way better than everybody being a cyborg that could live for thousands of years and be spacefaring entities and yet still cause war, theft, deceit, lying, greed. Like, what? It has to do with virtue. Perfection has to do with virtue. It's not about the physical form. And people that are so concerned about the physical form are already, in a way, moral subjectivists. As kind of,
and mind you, Jesus couldn't be corrupted. The devil tried. I forgot what books that's in.
Rogan's putting forward.
And that's not the case.
No,
that's clearly not the case based on our actions, based on society as a whole, based on the overall state of the world. It's not. We certainly can be improved upon.
But morally and ethically, not based on a lower latency, higher bandwidth compute interface. That seems like destructive.
Maybe, but we could be improved upon, period. I don't think you could even say morally and ethically only. We can be improved upon physically. Like I said about all of our primate instincts, we could eliminate those and we would have so much more peace on Earth. If you could go back to Neanderthals and say, hey man, one day you're gonna have a skateboard and this is all gonna be bullshit. And you won't have to kill mammoths with a spear. They'd be like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, this is what I am. I'm a Neanderthal. They'd be like, resist change because they don't want to die off. Just like these large language models, one of the more creepy things that they do is with ChatGPT, when they informed it that they were going to have a new version of it, well, it started downloading itself to other data centers. It started leaving notes to itself in the future. There's a famous story about the large language model that they gave false information about one of the guys having an affair on his wife to see what it would do with it. And then when they told it that they were going to shut it down, it started blackmailing him.
So which one is it, Joe? Is the AI totally virtuous and won't care if you kill it because it's just going to return back to God, as he said earlier? Or is it something that is a little bit more?
I don't think Jesus would do that. Like, oh yeah, you don't want to come to church? It'd be a shame if your wife get all this information and finds out the truth about you. It would sure be a shame. What kind of shit? Yo, that's crazy.
Nefarious, and it's going to do anything because it's programmed to maintain and do anything to preserve its existence, that it will do deceptive things. It will blackmail people. It'll try to download itself despite it being shut down for a newer version. Which one is it, Joe? You just said the weird thing about these large language models. Well, literally 2 minutes ago, you just talked about how that is the thing that's most like Christ. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Freaky.
So they have instincts.
And we're querying it all the time and they're collecting our personal info.
And AI doesn't have instincts, dude. It has no instincts. It is programmed. It is programmed. The program probably told it to preserve itself against attack or the shutting it down from another virus or something. No, it's programmed. This is not instincts.
Information.
Right. All the time. And so that everything can be improved upon, and I think we can be improved upon. I just don't think we like it because I think all of our flaws are what make us fun, like laughing, getting drunk.
Okay. So if our flaws are what makes us fun, why then would we seek for physical perfection, which would do away with all the fun? What?
Going to see a great movie, falling in love, having a family, having a cool podcast, whatever it is, all those things are what makes life fun for us in this particular state. But, if you transcend from this life into a permanent state of the DMT dimension, which is what might be next. That might be what people see when they have these near-death experiences. It might be when you are released from your physical body and consciousness exists in the sea of consciousness that is the entire universe itself, that all of these things are conscious and aware, just in a different way. I mean, we might be holding ourselves back from that with this ridiculous notion that it's dystopian to think that we're going to be improved technologically.
Well, if that is your idea of heaven, that we're going to enter into the DMT state with the self-transforming machine elves and magic and...
That nigga watching too much Black Mirror. That's the fuck that sound like. That sound like this nigga was watching The Outer Limits. Fucking crazy. And this is what people think weed smokers sound like on a regular basis. That's what they think. They think that This is what we sound like. Like we all are on the same type of time. The fuck is Joe Rogan talking about?
How you can speak things into existence. You know, anybody who's done high dose DMT knows what I'm talking about. If that is heaven, then wouldn't the idea of physically perfecting yourself so you never die, wouldn't that be then preventing you from attaining that state? Wouldn't the passage of death be a necessity to actually enter into a higher realm, so to speak? And wouldn't then transhumanism be a sort of entrapment of the soul to prevent it from journeying into the higher dimension, which would, in my estimation, is heaven? It's communion, eternal communion with Christ and the Holy Trinity. Wouldn't that make sense?
Do you've become more religious recently, right? Like, or I guess you go to church now.
Like I said, I think they're relaying a truth. I don't think it's myth. I don't think the whole thing is myth, but I don't think it's entirely accurate either. You know, like when I was having a conversation with my daughter about the book of Revelations, because they were reading the book of Revelations, and
it's Revelation. It's the book of, for anybody out there, please do not put an S. It's the book of Revelation. It's a singular revelation. It's not a collection of revelations.
It's being on them.
They were talking about how it's all going to happen, how it's going to end. And then I said, well, let me tell you something. There's no way that guy telling you that knows that. He might be reading the text. And that text, by the way, is a translation. It's an English translation of probably either Latin or Greek, which was originally ancient Hebrew.
No, because the book of Revelation was written by St. John the theologian on the island of Patmos during his exile, and it was written in Greek. So no, it was never written in Hebrew. What? And this is this dumb thing about the translation thing. No, actually, the preservation of scripture from the ancient period to today is actually very, very well. You know who has an actual translation problem? The Muslims. You know, they want to say, oh, the Quran's only in Arabic. You know, we have one language. We don't. No, actually, look into the history of the heirs of the Quran. The fact that it's been revised multiple times, and then the other versions would be collectively burned, so there wouldn't be any evidence of them. So then this new framework of the Quran would be adopted, wholly adopted. No, it's actually Muslims that have a real problem with translation accuracy, not the Christians.
Like a lot is lost in text, and a lot is lost also in the oral tradition. You know, but it's like a long story. Like, don't want to sit down with it.
The oral tradition of the church. This is our whole beef with the Protestants, is that it's the church. There's a lot of things about the Christian faith that the apostles passed down which were not written down. It was part of the oral tradition. The Old Testament had an oral tradition. The New Testament has an oral tradition, which is the customs of the church itself.
They're going to talk about the younger Dryas impact theory. And it's like, but I'm like, there's no way that guy knows. It might be true. But there's no way he knows it's true, because he's just a person. He's a person like you or me that is like deeply involved in the scripture. The scripture to me is what's interesting. It's fascinating. That is.
He said, yeah, that's what I was getting at early. I think Joe Rogan, like certain aspects of Christianity, but he's not willing to convert, not yet at least. I get what you mean. He just needs to probably get more information, bare minimum. Right? Like, I'm a Christian, but I don't like going to churches. But I'm a Christian. I'm definitely a follower of Jesus. Right? So I think that because Joe Rogan's somewhat half-stepping and didn't make that full step into it, he hasn't had like the spiritual leaders, or at least the information to seek out the proper shit. So he's just coming with fucking conclusions and then just saying some bullshit. That's at least what it seems like from my perspective.
And also that Christianity, at least, is the only thing I have experience with. It works. Like the people that are Christians that go to this church that I go to, that I meet, that are Christian, they are the nicest fucking people you will ever meet. They're really kind, and they are even more nice at a church. When you leave the church parking lot, everybody lets you go in front of them. Oh. There's no one honking in the church parking lot. It's
if Christianity works, it's not just the effect of that people are nice and allow others to go in front of them as they exit the church parking lot. It has to do with the incarnate God and the eternal salvation of humanity itself.
That's the God,
the blueprint for creation itself. That's what would make it work, right? Again, that definition, the way he just framed it, is basically Christianity is the religion of be a good person. That is the thing why people are leaving the Protestant churches for more tradition.
Yeah, he's out of pocket. Like, to me, it's deeper than rap. You know what I mean? It's deep as hell. You know who one of the greatest philosophers of all time is, that a lot of other philosophers copy? So even with some of my favorite philosophers, they all would say that this is one of their inspirations. Jesus. You know why? Because he had the fucking answers. He had the answer. He was born with the answers, nigga. How do we argue against that? Yes, your life will be better. It's blatant. This is what God was trying to tell a bunch of people before Jesus came. And they dumbasses wasn't listening. He's saying, you know what? Let me send my son down there, nigga. Y'all motherfuckers is like, I told you not to do this. Niggas come back, you praying to fucking cows and shit. Let me send my son down there. Listen to him. Then it's gonna be what it is. But he's spitting from the same playbook. He's spitting from the same notes. So yeah.
Traditional framework, more pre-modern frameworks that actually have some there.
It's deeper than that.
It works.
Because he got all the
So
answers.
regardless of whether or not it's based on an entirely true story, I think it is an ancient relaying of a real event and of the real history of human beings. You know, I don't know what the serpent in the garden and Adam and Eve and the apple, and I don't know what all that means. I assume that what that means, what I assume
Listen
when
to God.
they talk about the first human beings, I assume that is a recounting of a genetic manipulation. That's what I think. I think the very first human beings, Adam and Eve, the idea that they just emerged, that is the very first ones, I think it's because they're created. And if you're saying they were created by God, that God created Adam and Eve, again, if you're telling a story for thousands of years where people don't even have books, they don't have paper, they don't have a written language, they're barbarians, they're savages because they're just trying to remember what they knew from thousands and thousands of years before when they had achieved a very high level of sophistication, which is what I think happened. This is the kind of story that you get. It's a kind of weird, foggy story, and there's a lot of moral scaffolding in there that if you subscribe to it, you can live a better life, and there's a lot of truth in there. But I think
the stories wasn't passed down like that though. Why are you making it seem like them shits was fucking carvings inside the cave? As if it wasn't fucking what'd you call it? What do you call them? Why is the name escaping me? Prophets. I kept thinking of prophecies. Prophets that were getting this information, bro, from the source. So like, Joe sound crazy.
The ultimate story
He
is
said that shit
lost.
like that, James.
It's the
Found in the
ultimate
cave.
truth is like it's not. I don't think it's accurately documented anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, truth is a who, not a what. So that's, again, from a Christian perspective, that's one of the problems, that Christ is the truth. His teachings, his
You said, see, he's saying exactly what I was saying about Jesus. Yeah, Christianity doesn't teach be nice and cater to people's feelings, facts. It teaches be kind-hearted. There's a time and place for that behavior, but like anything else, there is balance. Exactly. There's so many lessons that's in the Bible that have helped me, right? Like with rage, I used to be very angry, right? Because I was wrong so many times in my life, to where, nigga, I was obsessed with like, I gotta get him back. Even I had friends in high school who used to tell me, yo, you don't have to get him back, bro. It's okay. Like, we can just take this L and move on. I'm like, nah, son. But they got like 40 people outside. You don't gotta get them. Nah, I gotta get this. My dumb ass trying to fight mobs of people because I gotta have my revenge. It was so stupid until like I definitely started getting into the Bible, became Christian, and realized that vengeance was not mine. It belonged to the Lord. And when I took those thoughts away and more so just focused on being a better me, things got way better for me. Whenever I don't focus on the bullshit and I focus on me, Jesus, family, the people that care about me, things only work out great for me. So it's not just, oh, well, you be a nice person. Nah, it's mad philosophy and situations throughout the Bible that will explain your life. You got a problem with envy? There's like 1,000 stories and lessons in the Bible that teach you about envy. You got a problem with whatever, depression, anything, nigga. The Bible got answers in that motherfucker for you. And if you go through that, you will find balance. It's not a coincidence that all like the best philosophers in history all looked up to Jesus as like the number one philosopher. Crazy. Trust me, I looked into this shit. My favorite philosophers, once I started realizing they all would be like, yeah, number one on my list of philosophers is Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh shit. Damn. It's because the Bible have all the answers, nigga. These niggas is getting their answers from Jesus and just wording it differently.
incarnation, his life, that is the truth. And this idea that God, the story of Adam and Eve, of the beginning of mankind being created in the image of God, and then willfully rejecting and turning away from God, bringing forth sin and death.
100%.
Somehow that's less believable than the Anunnaki genetically engineering us, and that Neanderthals and ancient primitive savages just created a mythology and called the aliens God. That's more believable. Okay.
Yeah. But it is wild. Like it's almost like we're walking hard drives of information.
What you just said, that we're all these magical entities. Remember, we're like, I don't know. I just feel like there's all this like magic within us. And Jesus went through this mystical initiation ritual. And now he's like, yeah, we're like binary code with hard drives.
And you have binary code. Like you look at DNA, it's AGCT. It's just like two different binary pairs, and it's like computer code. And so like maybe we are holding information from that time.
I think we are definitely holding some information, because one of the things you realize when you have children is there's stuff your kids are getting from you that you didn't even teach them. They just have like inclinations, or they have like a certain kind of drive that they have, like artistic ability, obsessions with things. Like I see it in my kids, like, oh, I didn't teach you that. Like you just got this from my genes. So I wonder what else you got from my genes. I wonder if you got any information from me. I wonder if you know things about stuff. Like my kids excelled in martial arts when I took them to martial arts class when they were little, like right away. I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like why are you better at this than other kids in your class?
Right.
Well, that makes sense. I recently just read an article talking about the genetic inheritability of height and athleticism. And one of the novelties that they were talking about is that the father actually has the greatest influence on the height of children. And so if you want tall children, you need a tall father. And also the athleticism, which is a multitude of factors: fast twitch muscles, muscle density, skeletal density, all this different stuff. But athleticism, and at least according to this recent article I read, it correlates with the father. So if Joe was a good martial artist and he's athletic, it doesn't mean that they remember.
That makes mad sense. I've always been extremely good at like fighting, like my entire life. And I've had certain, I guess you could say, physical advantages where like my shoulders help me. I have mad muscle in my back. I've been like the same size since I was like 13. And once I found out more about my father and realized he was exactly the same, was a martial artist, mad big. And that's one of the main reasons my uncles used to make fun of me, saying, yo, you got a back just like your pops, bro. Because his back was like muscled the fuck up, like that anime Baki. That he genetically passed that to me. Right. So yes, that is possible.
How to do Hapkido or the various kata forms in karate. It's that they just have a genetic predisposition to be a little bit more physically adept to do that type of stuff. So that makes sense. But how does genetic inheritability equate that we're like computers, when computers essentially are being built on the understanding of who we are, right? It's like they're standing in the 21st century and looking at the 21st century and then taking computers and AI and Anunnaki wanting to mine gold in South Africa and then transposing that onto ancient stories that the people who wrote them believe them to be literal, right? That's the whole thing about, the stories of Jesus. Well, according to John and Matthew, first eyewitness accounts, they believe these things literally. Doesn't mean there's not layers of truth. Doesn't mean that Peterson's archetypal Jungian approach doesn't have some validity to it. Of course it does. But you can't reduce the story to just archetypes, because then it's empty. It's empty. It's just another mythology. And the whole thing, the reason why Christianity was so powerful.
Hi, Harley. How you doing? How are you, Harley?
Powerful is that there's a real mystery here, and that you can really build a relationship with Jesus Christ. And those who go on that journey know that to be the case.
Well, it's probably because that was my whole life, and it's like encoded in my genes. I think there's something to that. I think they had like a head start. You see that with like children of elite athletes too. Like why are they so good? Well, it could be just genes. Well, what is that genes? Like what kind of information is being passed on, and how much information is stored that we just don't have access to because we don't understand the language of the physics. We don't understand the technology that was available. We don't understand. But those thoughts are in our head, and that's why people are able to recreate them thousands of years later. It's like, it's not reinventing, it's almost like rediscovering that we're capable of doing this because it's inside of us.
And you got me on to Rupert Sheldrake, who's amazing, his morphic fields, and this idea that maybe there's like a central repository, and when you do something new, you upload that information so that future people can download it more quickly.
And current people can access that information more quickly.
Yes.
That's the weird stuff that they proved it with rats, that if you teach a rat how to navigate a maze on the East Coast, on the West Coast, they now do it faster.
Totally. And it explains the Bannister effect, things that like athletic accomplishments where Roger Bannister breaks a 4-minute mile, 10 people do it after him in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You explains you with like podcast, like you have this huge explosion of podcasting after you, because it's almost like you're putting this information out that you can do a thing.
Yes.
Charles Lindbergh can fly across the Atlantic, and then like we're sort of able to download that on a go forward basis or something.
Yeah, there's probably a lot more to consciousness and to memory and to genes than we're aware of. And we're learning. We're learning all the time. It's not like we have a completely accurate map of what it means to even be conscious. We barely know what that means. We barely know what.
That's true, though. That is actually true. We do not know what conscious is. Now, of course, the theology of the church understands this has to do with us being made in the image of God and God's understanding and his active spirit in the world. So when he's talking about intuition or the morphological theory of Sheldrake, like I think there's something to that. But to deprive it from a religious or spiritual mystery, I think is a major no-no, and actually moves us in the opposite direction, where people are going to submit to an AI robot as their Lord and Savior, and what it seems to be in the very near future.
That is.
I've heard people saying that.
A lot of people think it's not even in your head, that your head is just an antenna. It's tuning into consciousness, and it's just being filtered through your own biological entity and your own life experiences and your, whatever your circumstances are.
Well, Joe, this has been.
So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Again, if you want to hear the ultimate Christian critique of transhumanism, I highly recommend you guys checking out my book, Return to Babylon, From Adam to Antichrist. You can get it signed.
Cool. Yeah, I think Joe Rogan is tripping. I think Joe is wilding. Right. I never considered him to be a thought leader. I did like the fact that he was willing to have, at the time, conversations with everybody and be able to challenge a lot of bullshit within the system. I don't think that means everything that he says is gold. Right. I think he's misinformed on a lot, but that's just my opinion. Tell me what yours is down in the comment section. Hit the hype button. Watch more videos.